Send me an email anytime. I'd love to hear from you. I don't always write back. Sometimes I'm just busy. If you know about being a mother, especially a new mother. Zion is just over 2 months old. So I don't have a lot of mental capacity. And yeah, right now I'm building myself up. And I wanted to share today a little bit about my birth story. So I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. Women tend to, I guess, swallow their pain and their grief over it. Many of us in the postpartum period or new mothers, we just recommended some therapy and some drugs, but that's not gonna help. We have to process our emotions in order to release them, or otherwise we store that trauma, that pain, that grief in our body, and we're not going to do that anymore. So I had a C-section, even though I was planning on a home birth. We specifically moved into this beautiful house in the mountains, in the forest. It's very peaceful here, but we specifically moved here because I wanted to have a home birth, and not every landlord is willing to allow this. But we were very fortunate to find a spot, and yes, we hired a midwife. We had the home birth tub, and I was working my little booty off because it's out of pocket to pay for a midwife, a holistic one. And everything was going really well. Felt really good about it. I'm very healthy. No one that I was working with was concerned about me and the pregnancy at all. But unfortunately, the day and night of my birth, I was unable to birth naturally. And it has been heartbreaking. I have been pretty mildly depressed, extremely anxious. My reflections on it through my grief is, why did my body fail me? Did I not try hard enough? Am I weak? And I keep blaming myself over and over. And as I shared in a post, I believed it perhaps had to do something with my sexual trauma, which I'll share about in future videos. We're going to get a little bit deeper into behind the scenes, who I am in life. I think that's time. I think it's going to help me connect better with you all. And ultimately, I'm tired of the masking behind being a spiritual guide. It's very isolating to be that idol for people, and I don't want to be that anymore. What the surgeon, the doctor, told me in the hospital, we were there for 5 days. It was excruciating, especially since I had such a cozy home birth planned. And I hate everything about hospitals, which I'll maybe share in this video. But the surgeon told me that my uterus had a thick band around it, and she didn't dive further into it. I still had lots of questions. That seems to be what happens with anything in regard to reproductive gynecological help, historically, for me at least. It's always been lots of questions and never really any solutions, just the application of more drugs. So that's what was told to me. And I was told it wasn't my fault. I did everything I could. And the C-section, it really was unplanned in every sense. I started at home contracting at around 8 a.m. and we were going until 3 a.m. that night, the next day, when we decided to transition to the hospital. At the hospital, and I live very rurally, by the way, so it was a 45-minute drive on a gravel and rocky road. It was excruciating. Everything about birth is excruciating, but yeah, that was very painful. And women, I guess we don't really communicate how painful birth is, especially unmedicated, but that was my experience for over 12 hours. And then getting to the hospital and finally getting some relief. But because I took the medicine, I'm speaking, so I'm not able to remember the name of the medicine, even though it's very common. It's the one they put in your back to numb your nervous system so that you don't have a painful birth. But when they gave me that medicine, you lose feeling, so I wasn't able to feel as effectively as when I was unmedicated, pushing and feeling where he was on his birthing journey. And so there was a struggle. It was morning at that point, so 24 hours. And Zion's heart rate was dropping throughout the birth. And it was scaring the doctors in there, who came in with a lot of fear anyway, which a little bit of intuitive feeling behind that was, I'm coming in with no history of prenatal care. I'm a darker woman with 2 white people. So I'm pretty sure this hospital maybe thought I was being trafficked or abused in some way. But they were very, very concerned and afraid for me, and very kind of invasive, the nurses, a little bit, in our stay, until they figured out that I was in a safe situation. Yes, no, I had sound mind, but yeah, Zion's heart rate was dropping, so we made the decision to go into a C-section. So I got to experience every part of the birth journey, of being in the tub with sage burning and drumming and medicine music, and having birth doula and midwives and my husband and my dog in the home, and it was beautiful. But you have to do what's right on your birthing journey. So yeah, trying to have a vaginal delivery didn't work, ended up in a C-section. And again, the doctor told me I had this thick band, I guess, of muscle. She spoke to me for maybe a minute or so. So I've been reflecting on, why was that thick band there? Why was my uterus not so flexible? And obviously I'm aware as a mindfulness teacher that mind-body connection. So I was storing some trauma there, and I haven't opened up about it very much, but I do have a history of some sexual trauma and abuse. And so I figured that must be why my body couldn't release or let go. It's still holding on to that pain and that fear. And that's perhaps why I wasn't able to birth Zion naturally. So it's been two months since the surgery and since the birth of Zion. And I'm healing quite well. Sometimes I, cry a little bit when I look at my scar and realize I had to have major surgery and it didn't go how I wanted. But it's very little in comparison to the joy I feel to have Zion here on earth, alive and perfectly healthy. But I've been asking for spiritual guidance a little bit more lately, because life is just totally different. And lately I've been trying to figure out, how do I connect? How do I build community? How do I continue to serve conscious lifestyle coaching, which is my spiritual ministry, my life practice, my other joy? How do I get back into that space. And what came to me first last night, after opening myself up and doing some work, connecting with my body, I did some qigong over the rising moon, over the mountain outside in the cold. It was refreshing. And what came to me last night was the spiritual guidance that it really wasn't my fault, but it is rooted in unconsciousness that I have to share and we have to speak on. The thick band was caused by having an IUD for 5 years when I was in my college years. So I didn't get pregnant with the IUD. It did its job, but it left me with some severe complications. I would say some organ damage, which was a side effect. So at 18, when I got the IUD, like all I cared about when you're 18 is, having sex healthily, not wanting to have a baby, building my own life, exploring who I was as an adult finally. And ultimately at the time as well, I was in study to become a doctor. I was an honors medical scholar. I trusted doctors. I believed in the medical system. I believed it was healing. So when I'm in the doctor's office and I am looking at options for birth control and I see the IUD, I see that it prevents me from becoming pregnant for 5 years, I say that's a great option. Let's do it. Ask about the pain. Oh, it's a little pinch. And that was it. No further discussion ever about the IUD. So I come back from my appointment, I get it in, and to this day, I still think getting the IUD was the worst pain I've ever experienced. Labor was painful. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to die at some points, especially towards the end, because it was so painful. But it was still worth it. You forget about the pain as a mom because you have a gift at the other end of it. And I guess the gift was I didn't get pregnant for 5 years, but you don't get that oxytocin and that healing after getting an IUD inserted. So I still remember it very clearly, and I still kind of wince when I think about how painful that was for me. Now, not every woman has that experience with an IUD, but it was extremely, extremely painful. I wasn't prepared for it. And as it happened, the doctor said, "Yeah, we hate men. We hate men." I later got in a physical altercation with my boyfriend that night, and that's not who I am at all. But that energy transferred for sure. And as I reflect today on it, she has to tell herself something. She's inserting IUDs into young people, I'm sure, probably every day, causing people pain and suffering. So she has to put a blame. She's projecting from herself. She's doing it to protect me from men. Did she do that? Yes. I guess I was a pretty young woman, so I always had men after me. I had a long-time boyfriend at the time. And, we definitely weren't ready to have a kid. He wasn't. That's why we ended the 5-year relationship towards the end, because I was ready to be a mom and a wife. I wasn't ready then. And he wasn't at all. So thankfully, this was the perfect time, and Zion was meant to be my first baby. But the IUD was, again, the worst pain ever experienced. And I've always been an athlete. I started martial arts back in 2020, and so I experienced some pain. That was bad. After I got the IUD inserted, I decided to do a little bit more research that I should have done before. But I was 18, okay? I didn't know how to ask questions or advocate for myself, or not necessarily from the beginning trust a doctor or anyone higher authority with a degree like that. I just assumed it was safe. So after I did my research, I learned that the IUD is actually, I had the Mirena IUD, by the way. There's different kinds. The IUD is recommended for women who've already had at least one birth. I did not have a birth. My cervix was very much closed and inexperienced. So if you don't know, as you watch this, the IUD insertion means that your cervix is clamped open with metal forceps or whatever they use. It's painful. And then they insert something foreign into your body. But reflecting now, of course, your body is going to reject it. It shouldn't be in there. So side effects, sometimes it will migrate, it will perforate, it causes ectopic pregnancies, so many dangerous side effects. And I understand now what if it would cause infertility? At least you would already have one child. That's probably why the IUD manufacturers say that. It's recommended for people who've already had at least one child. So I had that inserted when I was 18. That was 10 years ago. I'm 28. And the long-term complications of that choice I made when I was 18 was I have a damaged uterus and cervix probably. Sometimes sex can be very painful for me. So in a way, it's kind of genital mutilation here that we're doing here, the IUDs. So that's a long-winded conversation to have, and I'm sharing this in case anyone obviously is considering this, but also just to share and to bring into conscious awareness, which is where the Great Spirit wants me to take this channel, is to talk about things naturally with you, to bring some awareness that is necessary in life from my own experiences, which is wisdom. And you can be any age to share wisdom. So Spirit told me this is why my uterus was damaged. I had that thickening in it, which means it was inflexible, truly, for Zion to flip and turn himself towards the end. He was born, he wanted to be born facing up. Even though I did my yoga inversions and all that stuff, he couldn't flip. And I am a smaller woman and he was a larger baby. So I may not be able to give a natural birth ever. And that's grief-worthy. It does feel very unnatural. I wanted Zion's first experience to be my hands. Within seconds to be on my chest, and I didn't get that. And it's okay. So instead of IUDs, and I'm going to end the video today on this little negative wisdom. Instead of IUDs and all these birth controls that are obviously harmful, we need to be more conscious as a human society about our sexual health and our mental health. Oh, he's waking up. 1 second. Okay, Zion's back asleep, so I'm going to finish this message. But I shared the story about the IUD, and I ended with there are things that we could do to prevent the use of birth control, which is controversial. I'm not going to talk about, pro-life or not. I'm just talking about the prevention of hypersexualization in general in society, and especially upon children. Being a young woman who's very ethnic, exotic looking, I was hypersexualized from a very young age by my own family and by my society. I was exposed to pornography way too young because of computers and technology. what my parents had available to me with movies and books, and I learned about, sex, I think, a little bit too young. It didn't need to be in my consciousness yet. I didn't have a very fun childhood. I don't have a lot of good memories. I wish my consciousness was filled more with adventure and joy. It just wasn't. I had a very difficult childhood where just the home was very cold and quiet, or chaotic and dramatic and stressful. So being very conscious of how we are intentionally sculpting the minds of our children will create the future society where we don't need to inject foreign objects into women's bodies in order to prevent more children that are unwanted, which is a very real thing, and I care about that. So this is just a reminder, or maybe a warning for someone to check in on your children, and also at a very psychic conscious level. And this is for some of you who can hear this message, some of you can't. Whatever you think about, that's going to affect your children. You're not hiding any thoughts. You think you might, but we are evolving enough as a human species where we know telepathy is real. So if you have, if you're obviously behaving in a inappropriate way sexually in your life, cheating on your spouse, or even if you just have hypersexual thoughts, you're focused on sex a little bit too much, maybe you have an addiction to pornography, or you're addicted to sex in general, and you have children, they're going to feel that energy on their body, whether you're directing it at them or not. They feel that, and they're learning from you. They're studying every behavior that you have. And so in order to receive love and attention and belonging, children are going to mimic this hypersexual behavior. So I'm sharing all this in hope that those who receive this message will receive it. Those of you who are parents or are leading the consciousness of children and teenagers or human beings in any way, that you help ground the energy. You help people pivot sexual energy that is not healthy towards creativity, towards a healthy sex life. And as human beings, we really don't need to have that much sex. But how we are marketed to and how our minds are entertained, there's just sex everywhere. So it is up to us to guard our minds, even as adults. And how I will teach my son and future children is not to focus on those things, to care about other things, to care about their life purpose. I believe everyone has a sacred life purpose. So helping your child remember that and to focus upon it and master it, and help them guard themselves, protect themselves from sexual distractions and temptations. So it doesn't have to be religious at all. This is just spiritual, and this is just real. We don't need to mutilate women's bodies, men's bodies. There's a lot that can be prevented just by having this conversation. So thank you for having it with me. It's a very real talk, and I appreciate you for being on the conscious journey with me. And whatever it is that you are creating at this time that is helping to lead consciousness, evolve consciousness, raise the vibration of the planet, let me know if I can help you. Many of us on this path who are awakened beings, we have blocked chakra system. A blocked throat chakra, solar plexus is kind of wonky. Maybe you don't have the courage right now to speak truths like this, expose familiar patterns, or just reveal yourself like this. It takes a lot of courage. Or if you have a business that is controversial even, I'm here for it. If it's aligned and God speaks to me to work with you and for you, then I'm here. So please reach out, email me at any time, comment below. I want to hear your message, what it is you're working on to help shape the safety of women, of mothers, of children. How are you leading your men? I have a young son. So thank you again for listening to my birth story. And I hope that it plants a seed in you to ask questions, to not just blindly trust authority, especially in the medical system. They have errors, they have projections, they do abuse people in ways. Even though they are very intelligent, they are scientists first, I believe. That's why I left the medical system. So don't be afraid to ask questions, to take your time, to be compassionate with yourself. And if you are a young person watching this, just thank you, and be careful with the decisions you make, because it will have consequences later in life. So thank you for the impact you're making in your corner of the world. I'll see you in the next video. Peace and love. Conscious lifestyle coaching has been around for a few years, and I just became a mother, and I'm ready to transition this channel to more authentic community, because I'm here to connect with people. And if we're on the conscious path, then where I'm at consciously is parenthood. So yeah, if that doesn't resonate with you anymore, just thank you for journeying with me thus far. I pray my messages have helped you, have been a friend for you, have helped you awaken some things in your own soul. Whether it was triggering or not, I pray this channel has blessed you. But I am opening the portal now to new community. In my real life, I want to connect with other family-oriented people who care about earth consciousness and might be more on the creative side. You're into just teaching and guiding other people towards more peace in life, the enlightenment journey, the mindfulness journey, all those things. So we're going to head in that direction, and little Zion here is going to be along for the ride. So I've been praying on this for a while. I did not want to introduce him to technology, but as I further speak with the spirit about things, well, that's what these new soul beings are here for. They understand technology is meant for the evolution of consciousness. So that's going to be his world. So we're not going to fear technology, we're going to embrace it, and he's going to have a lot to share with us along this journey, along this path. So I'm still going to be a spiritual guide for you if I resonate with you as a sister, as an auntie. Some of you, it's, I channel the Divine Mother. For some of you, I'm a daughter, I'm a granddaughter, but either way, if you listen and you're a man, I welcome you to join us as well. Whether you're trying to get more intuitive guidance with the women in your life, or just embrace more of your feminine side, or if I just help you feel calm, whatever it may be, I welcome you on this journey. So I'm still here as a guide. I'm still going to help people build conscious businesses. If you don't know about that part of myself, I am a professional copywriter. I help build marketing campaigns. I am an executive assistant. So I help people build their business no matter where they are on their journey. I'm here as that friendly sidekick to help you get it done, because ultimately I believe in your vision is God sent. It's soulful. And it's here to elevate the consciousness of humanity. So I don't just work with anyone. But in the meantime, I like to share my daily wisdoms, my spiritual guidance. So we're going to do that. And these videos might be a little longer because I have the time now throughout the day. And we're going to go along for this journey together. Good job, son. Good job, son. You got it. You got it.